So let's say you're going to a track day and you want to figure out what do you need to do to get your car set up? What do you need to do before the track? What do you need to do at the track? So let's start off with this. Before you even get to the track, you need to make sure that your fluids are in good shape. So that means starting with give it a fresh oil change, check your coolant, and check your brake fluid. So let's start with something simple, the brake fluid. You'll find the brake fluid reservoir somewhere on the back firewall. You can actually see on the top, it'll actually denote what it is, but what you're looking for is you want to make sure that there's enough fluid in here just to start off with. So there's actually two lines, and it'll say max and min on those lines, and you want the fluid line to be right in between this. So you can kind of see that fluid line there, and there's a right there, that's where the min is, and up here is where the max is. Next thing you want to check for is clarity of the fluid. So you're not looking for dark colors or anything cloudy. It should be nice and kind of that amber, kind of like that gold color there, and no foreign debris. Now, if you haven't changed your brake fluid in a very long time, it might look okay, but actually be not very good, since brake fluid can actually absorb water, and as it absorbs water, it doesn't work as well. Without going into any more details, the next thing you want to do is check your engine oil. So that means find your dipstick, pulling out your dipstick, checking the level of the oil to make sure that it's proper. You want to be right in between, again, max and min on that. If you haven't changed your oil, it's always the best idea to do your oil right before a track day, since it puts a lot of wear in the engine and it's just good insurance. Next thing you want to look for is your coolant. And this is another one where you have a reservoir somewhere, and you'll be looking to make sure the line is between the min and max. Now, be very careful with the coolant. If the car is at all hot, do not try to check the coolant. This valve here is pretty much what holds it in. It's a pressurized valve. If you try to take that off if the car is hot, the coolant will explode out and you'll get burns all over your face, and it's very dangerous, so don't mess with that. If the car is extremely cold, which this one is not, then you can actually open this and take a look, but only when the car is very cold. Next thing you want to look at is check your belts. The actual drive accessory belts, make sure they're not frayed, worn, cracked. If they're going to cause any damage there, that could be dangerous in the track. And the last thing you want to do is generally just a quick overlook. Take a look at all your hoses, make sure things are tight, clamped well, nothing's wiggling around, everything is really secure, because the track's going to put a lot of stress on all the components, and if something is weak, it'll break it. So now let's go on to the next part. All right, so on the outside of the car, you need to take a look at your brakes and your tires, the next two big pieces here. Tires are the single most important part of your car, especially on a racetrack. You want to make sure you have good tread depth. The tires aren't bald. It's showing no fraying in terms of cords of the tire showing. You also want to make sure that the tires aren't very old. So something that can happen is if the tire is really old, it actually stops behaving like it's supposed to. This is considerably one of the things that was probably part of the Paul Walker incident and some other famous examples. But even if a tire looks good because it has a lot of deep tread, if it's over 4 years old, it's too old and probably not a tire you want to take at the racetrack. Next thing you want to take a look at is your brakes. Now, these brakes look like they've been through some stuff because I've already been on the track today, so they've already been taking a beating. But you want to make sure that you have not only enough pad on your brake pads, which this is something your mechanic will need to take the wheel off to do yourself. You also want to make sure you have the appropriate brake pads. So something that works really well in the street isn't going to work really well on the racetrack, because on the racetrack, the pads will overheat and you won't have stopping power. So one of the things that even I changed before I came out here today was putting in some high temp brake pads. So something a bit more aggressive. I use, Hawk DTC 230s today, but overall, extremely important. You want to make sure on your car that the pads are up to the task. You want to make sure that your rotors have life on them. They're not super thin or there's no grooving on the rotor. And again, life in the pads. And then as far as the tires go, now we're at the racetrack. So that's all the prep work. That's all the stuff before you even get here. You won't pass to the technical inspections at a racetrack if you don't have those things. So once you actually get to the racetrack, now we have to do a different type of prep. And first things first is tires and pressures. So what I like to do is I get a little piece of chalk here. And on your tire, you'll see, and you can see that there's a little triangle right there. Now, every tire will have a different type of marking, but what I like to do is make the chalk and do like an X, right, like that. It's nice, big. Don't worry about it; it'll come off. You're not ruining your tire. Now, what that does is, as you're driving around the racetrack, this tire is touching the road and it's moving. It actually, the tire kind of flexes. It goes like back and forth on the rim. So as a tire rolls over on the edge, there's a certain spot on that tire where it's supposed to roll to. That little triangle tells you this is where this tire should roll to. If it goes past that, it might mean you have too low of a pressure. If the X is basically erased up here and it doesn't even get to the triangle, you probably have too high of a pressure. So on this car, let's see if I can find an example of one of the X's that haven't been erased by the rain. It was raining this morning. Let's see. All right, that one's kind of not erased, but you can basically see the leftover little bit of the X right here. Unfortunately, it doesn't look, I can't see as much of it because this car was, out on the track in the rain on a skid pad. So the water pretty much washes everything away. But that's what you're looking to do on the track to check that you have the appropriate temperatures and pressures. But before you go to out on the track, you can try to get it close. So what you want to do is take off the valve stem here. A good gauge goes a long way. Long acre is like the gold standard. But a good gauge goes a long way. Something off the shelf, like a cheap little $5 one, might be inaccurate. This is one of those occasions where you want a good gauge. So okay, what we'll do, set this here. All right, so that was about 31.5 PSI. So that's not too bad. I had these set cold at about 30 PSI. So that's pretty much right where I need to be. You'll find where your tires and pressures should be set at from the factory in the door on the driver's side. So this car's a Japanese car, so you'll have to just bear with me. But this is the factory label. Every car has this on the driver's side, and you'll see temperatures, pressures, tire size, all sorts of good information. But this car, these are the front and rear tire pressures. Trust me, I translated it. That's 2.2 bar and 1.9 bar. If you have a US domestic car, this is going to say PSI. It's going to make your life a lot easier. I have to do a conversion to figure out what that is. But that's where you'll find your pressures in the factory, and that's where you should start. All right. So then what you'll do is you'll go around your car, you'll set your pressures to that point. And then your tires at the appropriate pressure. You'll go and do some track sessions. The tire will get hot. And what happens is the tire gets hot, the air inside gets hot as well. And that causes the pressure to increase. So what you want to do, and why this X is here, because you say, hey, well, I set my tires, it should be fine. But as you're on the racetrack and that tire pressure gets hotter and hotter and hotter, what you'll need to do is find out what your hot pressure is. So right when you come in from the track, right after you've done like your first session, come back in, check your pressures right away, because then it'll be hot and you'll be as close as you can to the hot pressure. And you'll be able to look at these X's and see as well and get a verification that you've got the pressure right. Now, sometimes on track, you'll find that you'll actually be slightly lower pressure than what the factory says because of the way, again, it heats up. So you might find that, hey, if the factory said 30 PSI, I actually set to maybe, let's say 25 PSI. But as that tire heats up on the racetrack, the tire is actually at 30 for the most part. So that comes with a kind of playing with it and just kind of practice and just experimenting with the car and learning the car. But yeah, I would say as the biggest thing you're focused with on a track day is safety first, and the safest thing you can do is your tires and your brakes. So making sure your fluids are good, making sure your brakes are in good condition. Good tires go the longest way out of anything. And if you're just starting out, these are a Falcon Asins RT660. It's a 200 treadwear tire. We'll call it like aggressive street semi-competition, but not fully competition. But if you're just starting out, actually try to get a slightly less aggressive tire, because you'll learn more faster. So get something that's like a performance all season, something with like a 300, 400 treadwear, and you'll be able to learn a lot more, a lot faster. Tires like this are fantastic and you'll get a better lap time, but they are much more difficult when it comes to when they fade, when they get hot, when they start to lose traction. So it's more advanced. It's better to start with something simpler. But yeah, that's a quick rundown of a track day. The other things you have to deal with are probably more event specific. So things like, window stickers, getting your helmet fully inspected, making sure it's up to date. Some track events will actually inspect the car and, look over it themselves. Some you'll do your own tech sheet or have a shop do a tech sheet. But every event does it slightly differently. So that's going to kind of depend on the rules and regulations. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a quick little rundown, just some basic things you can do at the track just to make sure everything is set. And otherwise, yeah, have fun. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comment below, and all the products we talked about are linked in the description.